Okay, insight about ladder anxiety. So this is really good because this is right up my alley, my PhD topic. All right, so um, there's a really good podcast for you to look up. How to bring the right energy to your game. So Pocket Psych podcast is one that I did with my co-host James Devmata. So um, I use my podcast as a teaching tool in the same way almost that we're doing this today. But often I'll talk on a particular theme rather than a whole lot of different topics. But this one is just a ripper of a talk. It's my PhD topic done in a podcast,
Oh,
and
wow.
I highly recommend you all look at it because it's just brilliant. I think it's brilliant, but it explains stuff that people don't know. So it's yeah, very informative from
Can,
that point of view. So make sure you look it up.
is that gonna I have access to that right in the slides. I'm gonna write that down and put that in the description after I post this.
Sure.
Let me
Yeah. Well.
see. Uh, oh,
Yeah. This was the first podcast that James and I had done in this format, and um, James had unfortunately forgotten to press the save button. I don't know, on Twitch or something that
oh
saves us the
no.
podcast. And I was talking to my one of my teams. So I was doing a teaching podcast like this, but with one of my teams that I just started working with. So I was introducing them to this idea and again making it interactive. And so we're hearing from them, but the podcast was lost. And luckily, one of the coaches had been filming the podcast as we were
Saved
talking
it.
about it. And he saved it for me. So it's not quite in the
Ew.
format, the nice format that you would like it to be in, but
Yeah.
it's good enough. And I'm happy. I'm so excited that he did that. So thank you
Thank
very
God,
much.
man. Yeah, I'll be sure to watch that later. That sounds like really interesting.
Yeah, it's a real beauty one. It's often the first talk that I would do to teams when I work with them, and it blows their socks off. Because they
Okay.
think, oh, I've never thought of it this way. It's very very important.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend you all have a look at that. But anyway, I digress. So one of the things that we need to do for ladder anxiety is it's this whole concept of don't 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 think too far ahead of yourself. Don't think of the outcome, but also don't look at the scoreboard. So often I find players get anxious when they're not playing as well as they expect to. Again, remember expectations comes into this as well.
Yeah.
So you know when you're not having a great match, but it's made worse by looking at the scoreboard and having it confirmed. So don't look at the scoreboard. I mean, I know you have to look at the scoreboard for looking at economy and all that sort of stuff, but try not to look at your numbers because there's no value in you looking at numbers. Usually you have a fair idea about how you're doing. It's pretty unusual for you not to know how well you're doing. You don't need it confirmed by the scoreboard. So um, leave that till the end of the game. Often when my players tell me they're getting stressed and worried about how well they're performing, it's because they're looking at the scoreboard very frequently. So stop doing that. Remember, it's a behavior that moves you further away from getting good performance. So stop doing that. How you fix it? So I'm a spreadsheet queen. So I have a spreadsheet pretty well for everything, but I make up a spreadsheet for each player, which has like the date of the competition, their opponent, and the behaviors that are around shooting behavior. So, the outcome is whether you've made the shot and killed them or not, right? That's the outcome. But the behaviors around it is was your crosshair placement good? Was your movement good? Is your positioning good? What were the comms like from your teammates? Were you controlling your breathing? Were you feeling calm? What was your self talk like? So I want to know a score out of 10 for each of those characteristics, those KPIs, key performance indicators. I've got them in a spreadsheet along the top in columns. Now I want to put a number out of 10 at the end of the map in each scrim. Give yourself a rating on those things, and there's a column there for any notes. So write down some notes. What did you notice about that game? So there will have been several opportunities, obviously, for you to have shot people during that map. How's it been going? what was your crosshair like? What was your movement, placement, positioning, all that sort of stuff? How was that all going in that map? And by having a pattern of results that's not really about shooting, but it's about the conditions around shooting, the brain suddenly says, okay, I'm not now looking just at the outcome, I'm looking at the processes and fixing those little things up that can lead to my outcome. And if I fix those little processes up, then the outcome will be assured. So, do you understand what I'm saying, Sam?
Yeah, to like put the focus on what you have control over, and then
Yeah.
the
The
results
conditions you
are
have control. Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
you have
Exactly. Exactly.
no control over the outcome, but just do the best you can.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, right, right. And so it usually only takes like a couple of days and suddenly click, performance is back. They
Yeah.
can shoot really well easily again because they've worked out that the conditions are right. There are controllable things they can do to help themselves.
So
And by paying attention to
yeah, sorry.
those, then they're setting themselves up. Yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
was like going back to what we were saying earlier. So I guess that's where I was getting wrong because I was trying to have no expectations when I'd have that thought of like the so be it if I miss. But what I was
Right,
lacking was the encouragement of like what I do
right.
have control over, and that's what why you're saying I should be more positive. Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you want to shoot?
The light's
Yeah.
going on.
Okay, it makes sense now. It makes sense now. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like half right though, where it's like no expectations,
Yeah.
but I had to be more positive
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
You're sort of halfway there, but you wouldn't want to
Yeah.
go the whole way.
Yeah, 100. Okay, let me change that then. 'Cause I feel like the you got this. Wouldn't that almost be setting an expectation? Should I just put like do your best?
Yeah, yeah. So do your best is the right expectation to have.
Okay. Well, for the you said for the little phrase, because I wrote down you got this, but I feel
Oh,
like that
yeah.
almost sets
Right, right.
expectations. So I feel like a better
So
phrase is
it's
just do your best.
no, well, no. That's an all-encompassing thought. That's your attitude, right? Your attitude is
Okay.
do your best. But the thought you should have is, um, you like I don't mind. You've got this. That's fine.
Okay.
You're gonna make this shot. Whatever, something like that.
Okay. I thought that was like also be setting an expectation with that the little phrase.
No, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Right, yeah. Um, so here's where I was describing like outcome goals and process goals. So your outcome goal is your eventual, where do you want to end up at the end of the season type goal. Like you might want to finish a certain place. You might want to earn yourself a trip, to a LAN or whatever it is. So your outcome goal is over here on the right hand side. It's the one that you've set as what you want to do by the end of the season. Then along the way, you've got these two milestones where you're recording to see, okay, well, how am I doing? How am I going so far towards my outcome goal? Am I on track or not on track? And before we get to that, to make our outcome goal, what we want to have is something called process goals. So the little behaviors that are totally in your control, the key performance indicators. So they're the things I talked about before
Mhm.
when our shooting is bad. So each of these blocks, I've now numbered them 1 to 7. Let's just say we're looking at 7 of them only. Each of these blocks represents a key performance indicator, something we want to pay attention to in our team. That if we did them to the best of our ability, then we're more likely to move closer to our desired performance, to our desired outcome.
Okay.
So they could be, block number 1 might be having no criticism in game of our teammates. That might be one of them. Number 2 might be uh, aiming for light comms. Not too serious. Number 3 might be, I don't know, you come up with whatever 7 things you think are the most important things that will help you get to your outcome goal.
Mhm.
I've only chosen 7 because that's how many I can fit on the slide. But you don't want to have like a multitude of 100. You want to have just maybe 7 or 8 ones that you think are the most important that will, I call them bang for buck. So, what's the smallest thing you can do that will lead to the biggest change?
Okay.
Um, and so you want to have 7 or 8 of those. Now, I want you to see in my diagram. So this row of number 1 is this is time down the bottom here. So
Mhm.
I'm measuring this key performance indicator for number 1 still at at milestone number 1, still important, and at milestone number 2, but shortly after milestone number 2, we don't need to keep measuring that anymore because we've got that under control.
You're like, it's already
We can
down
we
to
can
like an
st-
unconscious level,
we
pretty
can
much.
stop. Yeah, we can stop
Yeah.
measuring it. Yeah, that's right. And whatever our key performance number 2 is, we measure and we have to keep doing it all the way through because it's really important. We can't let that one drop. And 3 and 4 is that, and when number 5 we can stop that a little bit earlier. Number 6 we can stop pretty early, and number 7 goes all the way through. So we don't have to keep measuring our key performance indicators all the way through the season. If we've got them under control, we can drop them out, and we don't have to be consciously paying attention to them.
Yeah.
But the some we will need to pay attention to all the way through. And but if we did them all to the best of our ability, we know they're going to lead to success. Then at the end, even if we don't make our outcome goal, even if we don't win the tournament, even if we don't make the playoffs, whatever, we've done everything we possibly can to play our very best. Why would we be disappointed in that? The other teams, at some point, we're going to come up against other teams who are better than us. We have no control over that. So I think feeling pride in our effort is important if we've done
Yeah.
everything we possibly can, knowing, okay, well, and this sort of gets back. I don't think I have a slide for this, but and again, another important concept is it's just it's old age. I've forgotten. It's come out of my head.
You're fine. You're fine.
um, so it was the important concept of I want to swear. I won't swear. Negativity off comms. Yeah, maybe I'm coming here.
That's right here.
What do we
Yeah.
do? Oh, that's right. The usefulness of officials. So officials are only an important event to tell you how your team is performing right now. Because in scrims, you're trying out new stuff and you're against other opponents and you're learning stuff usually. Scrims are meaningless from that point of view, except that you get an idea of, so it's a practice. It's all it is, practice. But officials tell you where you're actually at. How far off are you from where you expect to be? And all it tells you is what things need to be fixed right now. Where am I at right now? What stuff needs to be fixed? And I'm never ever nervous when my teams compete, not just because it's not me competing, but because I've taught them what to do, and it's up to them now to put that into practice. And if they're falling short, it's because they haven't got the skills there yet. So we're thinking about of a growth mindset. It's not that they can't in the future, they can, but something else needs to be fixed, is what it's saying. If you're not performing as well as you thought, something else still needs to be fixed. So
That's
I want
yeah.
them. Go
I
ahead.
I was gonna say about the officials. That's a really good way to look at it because I'd always look at officials where it's like, all right, now's the time.
Do
Like
or die, isn't it?
yeah,
That's
it's
what
like I
most
have to
people think of it.
perform. But the way you
Yeah.
describe it makes it a lot less pressure. Where it's more like this just tells us
Right.
what we're lacking, but might as well do our best to find out what
Correct.
we are lacking
Correct.
at. Way less
And if you're
pressure.
playing against a team that you think, oh, gee, that's they're the number one team, or there's something great about this other team we're playing,
Yeah.
don't be awestruck by that because they're on their own journey as well.
Yeah.
I always think of the other team as being more like a helper to you as opposed to an opponent because their job is to help you identify what's not working.
Yo, that's really good.
It's big, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so it's a mindset. It's the way you think about things. And so don't ever be upset if you've underperformed. It just means that you're not there yet. And there's still things to be fixed. And this other team have now revealed to you what things you've still got to fix.
Yo,
And that's
that's
mind
huge.
blowing because that
Yeah.
helps you.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's yeah.
So never ever be frightened of officials. Learn to love the pressure. Learn to love to test yourself because this is officials are just a way to test yourself under pressure conditions. Learn to win under pressure, and that's the key to it all.